Hello, good evening. This is the Cultural Fine Arts Commission meeting, November 6th, 6:03 p.m. At this point, we will start with a roll call, and I'll ask the city clerk to conduct.
Commissioner Emerson,
Present.
Commissioner Kershner,
Present.
Commissioner Momsen,
Here.
Vice Chair Schlelein,
Here.
Commissioner Van Wagner,
Present.
Commissioner Alioto,
Here.
Commissioner Knudsen,
Here.
and Chair Hagstrom.
Here.
Thank you, and we can let the record show that Commissioner Smull is not in attendance.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with the agenda item, really number one, which is comments from the public. This opportunity allows the public to make comments that are not part of the agenda. Are there any people that would like to comment? Are there any online comments?
No, Chair Hagstrom.
Okay. Is there a note that we want to make for online comments?
Just that as a reminder to anyone who's going to be participating in Zoom and also in the chambers, public comments on agenda items are to be contained to the agenda item that's being discussed. If it had been a general public comment, then it could have been on items within the jurisdiction of the city. So that's just a general reminder that if someone does start going off on a different topic on a specific item, we will remove their permission to talk.
Okay. Does any of the commissioners have a question about that note? Any public or Zoom questions? Okay. Then we'll get started with Agenda 2, the selection of the 2024 Treasure Artist. Discussion about the Treasure Artist, the selection and discussion about the Treasure Artist reception. So we've all been given, I think, 8 different applications, nominees, and we've had a chance to review their qualifications, and we'll be opening up the floor to discuss each. Yes.
If staff can give a staff report
Oh.
first, just kind of a general idea of how we got to where we're at right now. The CFAC Commission selects an established artist located within the Sonoma Valley each year as their Sonoma Treasure Artist. They're recognized, the person's recognized, selected and recognized for their outstanding achievements in a chosen artistic medium, and it can include performing, visual, theatrical, literary, and craft arts. The call for nominations went out on September 8th, 2023, and this was based on the updates to the process and policy that the commission approved at the last meeting. We actually received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, no, not different people. Received 18 different nominations, but those were not for different people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 different individuals were nominated. And of specific note, the number of nominations were actually the physical nominations that were received. Some of those nominations may have had multiple signers or multiple supporters. We didn't go through and list the number of each of those. We put the nominations up in the Google Drive for your access, and once you guys, the way the process will work tonight is we'll ask for questions, or if you have any questions of me before they start the process, go to public comment on this item, and then it'll come back to the commission for discussion and selection of the treasure artist. That process, you can do that in a couple of different ways. If someone wants to immediately make a nomination, they can do so. And if it's seconded and can move forward, or you can go through each individual artist. It depends on how the commission would like to do that. In the past, we've done it where each commission has said like their top 3 or top 2, and then we've tried to narrow it down if there's been multiple people. If there's our majority clear at the beginning of everyone's top person. So there's multiple ways that you can do that. I know it's a little uncomfortable. And once the selection of the treasure artist is done, then we'll move to discussing the treasure artist reception. And in the last process in 2023 for the treasure artist, the commission appointed an ad hoc committee to do most of the footwork and planning, so you didn't have to continue to come back to this meeting or an open public meeting for those logistical pieces. At this time, when you finish the information and the selection, when we talk about the reception, if you guys would like to do that as well, I believe that worked really well. But that's a choice for you guys to make. And with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't have a packet.
Here, we will share. And remember your microphone. Oh,
Did you get an agenda too?
no. I just sort of wrote it down on this.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so are there any questions from the commission regarding how we're outlining this selection process? So I suggest that we go round robin and just discuss maybe our personal anecdotes about the different nominees, and then maybe move to a 2 or 3 person top selection, and then boil that down to a final treasure artist nominee. Does anyone have any comments about that concept of first some personal discussions about the nominees, and then boil down to 2 or 3, and then a final? Connie, yes.
As usual, I'm always working with rubrics and qualifications, and so I did a little rubric of all of them so that I would remember what we're looking for. And there are questions of how you weight some of the qualifications you're looking for, and that came up as I created a rubric. The qualifications we're looking for are exceptional artistic achievement, significant contributions to the Valley, a legacy of artistic excellence in the community. They must provide photos or some kind of link to their work, and diversity was mentioned. So those were the key elements I looked at as I started to go through all these nominees. And I have to say, I found it really hard. The people that were nominated were just exceptional and wonderful, and you all staff did a great job getting the word out there, and thank you. I think this is working. If it's hard, it's working.
Mm-hmm. I'll add that our past nominees have shown a passion of their craft, and that passion was shown in their past work, their present projects, and their future trajectory. And so I always look at that footprint that person might leave behind or is in mid-step. So we're not looking for a popularity contest. We're looking for the breadth of work. So that's how I come to, making suggestions and in this review process. But open to hear how other people go through their process. And then maybe we could talk about the different artists, because I don't know everyone, and maybe you know something about the artists that I don't, that I can be enlightened about. And yes, Deb?
I just have a question, and maybe it's for staff. I appreciate the online form because everyone had the same questions to answer, and then of course they could present additional information. But I was questioning whether the nominators understood that, all of these are requirements of the application, or not application, but the nomination form. And so that because these are not artists that are applying and trying to put their best foot forward, they're relying on someone else, or perhaps not even knowing that they've been nominated of someone else. So depending on how complete the nomination form is, I just wasn't sure, was that understood that those were requirements that we were looking for, such as Connie relayed in the rubrics.
Yes, thank you for that comment and question. So if I did receive, I reviewed all nominations that came in, and if a nomination came in incomplete, they didn't have those components, I did reach out again and request that they resubmit with those missing items. I didn't necessarily spell out every time all of the things. Most of them were fairly complete but didn't have, usually it was the example of work. That was the most common thing, not submitted with, that didn't use the online form. So they did get outreach if they didn't include those items, but you're right, those who used the online form, it is probably a little bit easier formula-wise, rather than a stream of consciousness letter, which is sometimes a little bit harder to touch all those points, but generally felt that they were all filled with that. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Connie?
I also really appreciated being able to see visually the work this year. There's been submissions in the past where we had, if we knew someone or their work, that was good, but many of us didn't. And so those people were handicapped, really. Now we are able to see that. I think we'll smooth it out. It's a real drastic improvement for a person that's supposed to judge this fairly.
So if it's okay that we can sort of take this approach of, sort of shotgun approach of talking about each of the recipients or nominees and seeing if people have insights that we don't all share, and then maybe we could, through conversation, boil down the nominee list to a more manageable number, and then take a poll and select our treasure artist. So with that, I'll just sort of open up the floor. We'll raise hands and discuss the merits of each nominee briefly, because as this body, we have a lot of experience with these people, but individually we may not have any experience. So maybe this is a good way to flesh it out. So with that, I'll start with Bob Taylor. I know Bob Taylor. I came to this commission as a technician. I'm not an artist, though I understand the art needed to put on a show. And the artists are not always on the stage. And so I see Bob as a technician, but also has an eye for the arts and videography, but is also a radio personality and a musician. So I know Bob as being or having a past in the arts, currently working in the arts, and certainly his trajectory is to continue with his craft. I see a lot of passion, and then I'll turn this nominee over to the group, and if anyone would like to add maybe a personal story about Bob Taylor, please raise your hand and we'll bring you up into the conversation. Yes, Lauren.
Hi. Well, Bob Taylor was on the top 2 of my list for the treasure artist. So I have met him and I've been on his radio show several different times, and he's great. I think it's pretty impressive that he keeps the community radio going 24 hours a day. So I think definitely contributes to the community that way. And he is also a musician and he performs, so he's an artist in that way as well. But yeah, that's what I have. Great candidate.
Is anyone else? Yes, Morgan?
I would agree. I think out of all the artists, he's one who's touching a lot of the community the most is through KSBY Sonoma. And it's like one of my favorite radio stations to listen to. So many other artists get to contribute on that platform. So he's expanding his art to other artists. And yeah, also his illegitimate AC/DC band. He really, if you want to talk about passion for your craft, go watch him perform.
Agreed. Okay. Anyone else on? Yes, Connie?
I had him as, as I looked at my rubric, obviously significant contributions to Sonoma Valley and legacy of artistic excellence in the community were where he really hit the mark for me. Those two areas as we're looking through those.
Okay. All right. We'll move to the next nominee, John Arntz. I'll start. I know John. I've done sound for him. I've watched him perform in many different bands with many different performers. We know that he is involved in the live band karaoke, but I've seen him on the stage of like countless different bands. He is certainly a musical force in the Valley. He's the type of guy that if you see him in Safeway, you'll stop and say hi. We all know John Arntz. If you go to any live music, you're going to see him. He also is a bit of a teacher. He helps people sort of get out of their shell and perform at a higher level. And that's a rarity among performers. Maybe it's ego, or maybe it's just not listening. But John listens, and he is able to help people, and he teaches. So I think that's to his credit. So that's my take on John. Great guy, fantastic musician. Anyone else have any comments on John Arntz? Connie.
So John was critical for starting Creative Bridges. He is a corporate leader. The part you don't see about him is he's traveled the world helping corporations in leadership training and group dynamics, and took Creative Bridges at the very start and helped us launch with us all jumping in our time machines, imagining how Sonoma could be better. He does that with everything. He saw the need to bring musicians who were rivals within the Valley together and created a number of bands and a number of venues to do that. And it's really powerful. And he's not discriminatory toward any type of person, including young and old. The kids he's really supporting in terms of music. We've had Creative Bridges people who've never performed jump up and he's really about empowering people to find their voice, whether they can sing or not. It is more than about music. It's about personal transformation. He's quite an amazing person, and I consider him a guru for me, because when I get into trouble with any concept, he's usually the first person I talk to about how to negotiate through challenges. So I find him extremely community-minded, and a person that's fairly recently delved into the craft, within the last, I don't know how long he's been playing, but he's really been serious for about the last decade in learning his craft of playing.
Okay. Anyone else comment? Scott?
Yeah, hi. So I've worked with John. I've known him for, I don't know, about a year or so, and he has an extraordinary talent for organizing events that are presented to the community. And the one that you mentioned, live band karaoke, I've been a part of a couple of times, and it's really an unusual opportunity for members of the community to step up and, you said, find their voice, but for some folks, it's realizing a dream of singing and performing live in public with a professional band backing them up, which is not something that they're going to have an opportunity to do anywhere else that I'm aware of. I mean, there's karaoke bars and electronic machines that, you know, provide the background, but nothing like what John does. And he spends an inordinate amount of time with live band karaoke, putting the program together each month. So each month he invites 20 singers, and the band that backs up those singers has to learn every song. And typically these are songs that none of the band members have ever performed before. So there's a lot of effort that goes into it. And I would say John himself probably has to learn about 200 songs a year in order to support those vocalists on stage. So that in and of itself is remarkable. And I think as far from a legacy perspective, he's certainly leaving a significant footprint on the community, and helping folks recognize that they have a talent, but also leaving a footprint in the sense that these folks walk away from the experience of doing the live band karaoke with such a great feeling, right? A positive feeling. And for his contribution just with live band karaoke alone, I think he's a very, very solid candidate. Yeah.
Yes, Connie?
I also think this is the second or third time he's been nominated.
Third.
And the people just keep rebuilding it and keep coming back to nominate him.
It is his third.
Good point. Anyone else would like to talk about? Yes, Mario.
I mean, this is just a quick little comment, but I still think it's brilliant how someone could just, do stuff outside the music scene. I think it was you, Connie, that said bringing the two people together with differing views within the music industry. That's truly impeccable. Really awesome, and also just helping the town as well. That, I mean, personally is something I would try to, see in one of these candidates, not just helping, themselves, but also the town in general, besides, in the art field. That just, there's no words to explain. It's just really incredible.
Great, thanks. Okay, anyone else? Okay, the next is Kay Adams. I'll start by saying I don't know Kay. I do know the Vintage House Singers, and I'm aware of music in churches. I think the thing that I took from reading the nominee was that this woman has been active for a great percentage of her life, and she's 90 years old. So there's the legacy there of helping people sing. There's certainly a lot of years and experience. So the nominee is well received, though personally I don't have any experience with her, but boy, it was a nice read. Does anyone have any comments on Kay Adams? Yes, Connie.
I think the nominators are interesting as we look at who's nominated. Talk about an impressive group of people nominating. And Sheila Whitney is quite a superstar in her own right in terms of music. So when she put her name to this, I notice. And I also gave I gave Kay Adams credit for diversity, because we don't have many 90-year-olds nominated, and there is a little bit of ageism, in this world. So I thought that was pretty cool. The legacy that she has is neat. So,
I'll say doing some reading about churches, and there was someone said, if you ever want to join a church, make sure you join a church with a choir. And I've had some experience with church choirs before, and it does touch a lot of people. It's very uplifting. And not seeing her work, I do know the feeling. And I imagine with the breadth of work that she's done over those years, that she has touched and really enriched a lot of lives every Sunday and days in between. So it's a new category, but it's not unlike the others. Passion, she's touched people. Selflessness, volunteer, certainly has that legacy. Any other talk on Kay Adams? We'll move to Marcia Klein. I don't know if I know Marcia. I came out of the community center. I know the ceramics and art program there, but I don't have any experience with her work. So I'll open up the floor. Does anyone have any experience with Marcia Klein?
she's always donating her work for Wall to Wall with the Sonoma Valley Museum very generously, and a number of other organizations. I had read she was also a teacher, an art teacher for a long time, and has a deep love of spreading the word of the importance of the arts. She shows everywhere. She's well known. She's highly accomplished, and a very unique creator. She doesn't take the normal path. She challenges herself to do really different things. So it wasn't in my packet. I'm going to have to catch up. I see it here, but for some reason I didn't have it in my digital packet, so I'm going to have to catch up. But I have a lot of respect for her work.
I think with any art, what you look for is there original thought involved, and the pieces that were shown to us all really are outside the box. These are not still lifes or portraits. These are something that she cooked up, and the nominee is, it fits with what we do here. So Marcia Klein is an artist that we should consider. Any other comments on Marcia Klein? Yeah, Mario.
Speaking of cooked up that you said that, I'm looking at one of these pictures that were shown to us, and just the bananas and the strawberries. I don't know, I personally think that's really clever, because that's something you'll probably never see on a plate. You would probably see a very intricate style pattern, whether that's postmodern or Greek or Roman or even Egyptian. But I don't know what catches my eye about it. It just personally, I think it's really funny, just seeing bananas and strawberries on the plate.
I like it. Probably no plagiarism there, just a fresh idea that got sparked. So any other comments or thoughts on Marcia? Okay. So next we have Victor Ferrar, folkloric dance. I believe he was at the Sonoma Community Center. I didn't get a chance to meet him, but I heard his name during the introduction. The folkloric is tied to the Dias de los Muertos ceremony and festival at the Sonoma Community Center. The dance is in celebration of Mexican heritage. I'm no expert, but I do see a commitment and passion towards the heritage of the dance. And does anyone have any comments about Victor? Oh, Mario, jump up.
I mean, this is mainly for the folkloric dance, but they are talented. I personally, at the Red and White Ball, I was also there to perform, and I had the incredible opportunity to see them dance, and I was really captivated by their dance and just bringing this historical factor and culture that, like, personally I haven't seen before. But, you know, it was very cool so, like, the community can see it as well, seeing that reputation within our city. Because normally, you know, we don't see that. So it's nice that someone brings that full forth.
I'll start with Lauren.
Yeah, so, you know, I've experienced the Ballet Folklorico in many instances. I'm sure all of us have seen it. He's very involved in many of the traditions in Sonoma, and I just think it's amazing that he continues the tradition of a Mexican heritage here in the Valley. You know, there's so much more to the culture here than the wine and the food, and I think it's very powerful for a lot of the community members here that, you know, I see them come out for his performances where they might not otherwise just be walking around downtown. And they do an amazing job. I mean, it's the real deal, the hair, the makeup, the dress. He goes all out and really keeps alive this ancient tradition. And a true artist, a great nomination, in my opinion. He was my top choice.
Connie? Oh,
Go ahead.
okay, Morgan?
He's also one of my top choices as far as contribution to the community. So many students are impacted by his program, and so many people who, a part of the community that quite frankly is overlooked a lot of the time. It's their time to show up and show off, and he does a great job doing that. So contribution to community as the Cultural and Fine Arts Commission, I think he was one of the strongest candidates as far as diversity, passion. It started as his senior project at the high school, and like 15 years later, he is still going strong. For a lot of students, especially I work at El Verano, so in the demographic I work with, that is like the one thing they get to experience and really be proud of. Like, this is my culture and this is my heritage and here's how I can show it off. So footprint left behind, again, a lot of students in the community and adults, like people who don't usually come out to farmers market or other events show up when Ballet Folklorico is going to perform. Yeah, breadth. So he is one of my top choices.
Connie?
Victor has burst upon the scene, and he's everywhere. And he's been integrating into many of the major nonprofits and organizations, as well as to the school district, and has engaged families and children. And he's a professional dancer himself. He loves dance. The cultural aspects are obvious. What people don't know is how much he gives. He donates. They scrape. The families provide everything. He's been not paid for the work for years, and he never gives up. He is truly passionate about this. The new superintendent of schools, Dr. Rodriguez-Chian, said the first time she saw this Ballet Folklorico, because many communities have it, she said she was astonished at the quality, that the way that he approaches it is really terrific. Luther Burbank and a number of programs have been reaching out to pick him up. So, great candidate. Young, you know, he will make his mark even more. So that definitely ticked a lot of the boxes.
Meredith?
Yeah, I have to second what everyone said. I think when I read this, I was excited, and he was my first choice. I love the diversity. I love the cultural aspect. I love the contributions to community. I think it's almost like what felt to me like the whole package of someone that I would be honored to give the award to. You know, I feel inspired that he's in our community also. Yeah.
Lauren?
I just had one more thing to add. In the diversity column of the rubric, if you will, and I don't know all of the past treasure artists, but in the last 40 years or so, I don't think we've had anyone that's indigenous Mexican as our winner, which I think would behoove us to really look at the contribution in a different angle that way.
Deb?
It's just when I was reading through, I was really proud that people nominated him. It made me really happy to see someone being recognized that's contributed like he has.
Mario?
Just a quick little thing as well. I mean, out of all my time on this council, I've never seen a dance submission on here. I mean, sure, it wasn't like directly from the person, but it's nice to see that for once, because it's always been like fine arts or some video or music, but to see dance for once, it actually made me like smile a little bit.
Literally
Yes.
getting chills. Had to put my jacket on talking about this
Okay.
candidate.
All right. Well, thank you for everyone's comments. Yeah, it's not just about dance, it's about the costumes and the music choices and the community. A dance school is an important part of a community, and it sounds like Victor has developed quite a following. So what a great nominee. With that, we'll go on to Brigitte McReynolds. Brigitte is hanging on my wall, so maybe I am a little jaded, but I really love her style. She reinvents herself all the time. She just had a show just the other day. I looked at it and like it was completely different from the last stuff she was doing. She's always pushing the envelope with visual arts and technique, whether it's dripping epoxy over her art or using clay as a substrate or anything in between. She is a pioneer and really a prodigious artist. Does a lot of volume, big pieces, very interesting. I'm a big fan of Brigitte McReynolds. And with that, I'll open up the floor. Does anyone have any experience with Brigitte? Yes, Connie?
I think she's terrific. This is just getting harder and harder the deeper we go. She's an accomplished artist. The person that nominated her, Kayla Stein, knew what she was doing. That this is a pro, and she's wonderful. She's very generous. I don't think in terms of I thought about exceptional artistic achievement in this one. You know, and this is where, as you start to do the weighting of how you judge this, you know, where does community leave off and where does artistic excellence come in? And that's what's hard about doing this, because I think, you know, she's highly accomplished, obviously shows everywhere. The galleries she shows in are top notch. She's not afraid. She doesn't stay safe, as Steve said. I have a great deal of respect for her. And if Kayla nominated her, that speaks to me too, because Kayla is one of a kind. So no small thing. I think she's one person in this community in terms of painting that I'm very proud to know and wish I had a piece.
Any other comments on Brigitte McReynolds? I'll add that she's very accessible. I did the art walk on Thursday and she was right there. And so that's great. So with that, we'll move along the list here. Next we have Janice King. And many of you may know Janice's work with the Jazz Society and the work that she does in curating jazz performers and bringing them to the plaza. I don't know Janice's work outside of that, and so I'm going to open it up to discussion. Does anyone have any personal knowledge of Janice's work or how she's contributed? Yes, Connie?
Well, obviously the jazz concerts are terrific that she does, and I think that she's very welcoming to other organizations, which I really appreciate. She expands her reach and moves across. For instance, Music in Place is a new organization that's come into the community. It's a wonderful nonprofit. I wondered how those two would meld, both at the amphitheater, both doing concerts, and it's pretty seamless. Same with Sebastiani Theater. She's forged relationships everywhere. The quality of the performances is just keeps expanding and growing and shocking us with who she's bringing to town. So I'm very, very appreciative of her. I don't know her personally.
Yeah,
Scott?
I don't know Janice personally either, but I have attended concerts at the Jazz Barn over on Carriger, and also at the Grinstead Amphitheater. And I have to say that, for running, I always admire people that can organize and manage a nonprofit with as much passion as she does. It's extremely professional, as Ms. Connie said. I mean, the talent that she's bringing into Sonoma is internationally recognized, so she does make quite an effort to go out and bring to our community really top-of-the-line musicians and bands. So she would be in my top 3 for sure.
And her quote is, "Live jazz is the key to happiness." And thank you, Janice, for bringing us a lot of happiness. Anyone else? So we'll move to Kate Knudsen. I don't have a lot to add. I don't know Kate. She is an artist. And we'll look to the commission to add to any experience we've had with Kate's work. Yeah. Connie?
I thought it was endearing, her students, adult students nominating her, and her work was vibrant and happy, made you feel great. She sounds like she's had a lot of impact on a lot of people in both teaching and her painting.
And in our booklet, we do have Kay Adams again. We've already discussed Kay, so we'll move through the second submission. And that brings us to Nora Russo. Nora is an artist, and if we read through her nominee, there were 13 members of the community that nominated her.
Actually, I mixed up Nora with Kate. I'm sorry. Nora is the teacher.
Okay.
And I see that because I don't have the visuals in front of me. So she is the one I'm talking about before. And Kate did quite a body of work. She's from the South. I don't know if you guys remember this story, but was a pretty interesting story about her family. And she uses recycled materials, does a lot of different, quite a body of work. She has a large website, and I don't see the pictures here, so it's hard to remember at this point. But Nora was the teacher, and Kate is the artist who did a lot of recycled things and a huge body of work.
That reminds me, I think now I know Kate. She was involved with ceramics at the Sonoma Community Center. Okay. So we will jump ahead to Nora. So does anyone have any experience with Nora Russo?
I do. A little
Okay,
bit.
sorry, go ahead.
Not a lot, but I know that she donated a painting for the Cancer Support Sonoma event this year. So it looks like she donates, supplies and all sorts of things, paintings for nonprofit organizations, which is really great. Her work, I like her work, but that's the extent of my knowledge of it.
Okay, any more comments on Nora? Okay. And the final entry I have is Robbie Pengali. And we all know Robbie if we've picked up the newspaper because she's the staff photographer for the IT. And I'm an amateur photographer, and I know it's hard to get that shot. But I also know the shot is usually tied into 40 other shots, and you got to pick the right shot. And so to have an eye for an image and then to be able to pull that image out of the hat of 40 others that aren't quite as good, that's an artistic eye. And to be able to do it over and over again and to interact with your community and get in there and get the shot time and time again, that is an art in itself. I go to a lot of events and I see Robbie at most of them. And I think of that as being very selfless. Yeah, she makes her living as a photographer, but she's also really a part of our community. She's documenting our history. Her story is not in words, it's images. And, our ancestors and, future historians will look back at her work and be able to recognize where we were as a society, what happened during these pivotal times in Sonoma's history. And Robbie's name is going to be on those photos. So I really felt that as a more technician, Robbie exudes the artistic element. And photography is hard. It's not a point and click world. There's lenses to choose and angles and lighting. So I really feel like she's contributed so much, and I think her name will be synonymous with the city of Sonoma, and she's a good candidate. Does anyone else have any comments on Robbie? Yes, Connie.
She was here when we hung the student work, and so Rebecca and I got some time, and Morgan was here briefly, I think, to talk with her. And she was so into arts education and how truly important it is for children to learn to see, to learn to be creative, and to expand their views of the world. She also shared a little bit of her background, and she was, very highly trained in London. Had, she's quite an accomplished artist in her own right in a variety of media, and eventually settled on photography, but did not. She's not completely journalistic in her approach to photography. She moves between art photography and journalism. And I find her point of view and the way that she approaches her photographs, she's often trying a lot of different things. She won't just accept the average, even though she's paid to do her job. And I debated about, well, we have a person that is earning a living as an artist. Do we dock her for that? That it's, we want to reward people for finding their creative voice and have a career at it too. People don't have to volunteer. This particular treasure artist isn't about having to volunteer. It's about excellence. and it's also about community. And she has dug into this community. There is no doubt. She honestly was my top candidate.
Does anyone else have comments about Robbie? Yes, Morgan?
I'll just say she was also high on my list. Contribution to community, legacy, passion, footprint left behind, like you said. When people look back at Sonoma, her work is what they're going to see. And breadth of work. She's been doing it since the 80s. So, yeah, she's also high on my list.
Anyone else? So that was the final nomination on my list. Were there any others? I'll reach to staff. Okay. Okay. Connie?
Emily, the editor of the paper, nominated her, and she made a comment that we've never had a photographer win this either. So I thought that was an interesting comment. I wondered about that.
Well, you had a photography teacher and a film teacher, Peter Hansen.
Right.
I
Good
believe
point.
he's a film photographer. I can look at the list to see as well.
I'm not sure that matters.
Yeah.
It struck me.
Okay. So we have a lot of candidates here. They're all very well qualified. They've been curated by our community. Does anyone want to make a final statement or, discuss the process before we try and boil this down to a working number? Yes, Deb.
I just wanted to say in the, 5 or 6 years I've been on the commission, this is a very talented pool, and I'm glad we have a really tough decision because it's a pretty impressive group.
I would just say of those who don't get it this year, I hope they're nominated again because a lot of them do deserve it.
Okay. Yes, Scott?
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm inclined to vote for candidates, and there are quite a few of them that meet this criteria, but that have made a contribution that's had a direct impact on the community more so than individuals. And, both from a performance and entertainment perspective as well as a human development perspective. So, the performers and the audience, are candidates making a contribution to both sides.
Yes, Connie?
I'd like to request advice because this is being recorded. So all these comments will be viewable. And so you don't want to hurt anyone or make them feel bad. Is it possible to do a secret ballot?
No, the Brown Act specifically prohibits secret ballots.
Okay.
So if we have 8 commissioners that are all voting today, or,
Everybody but our youth member is
Okay.
voting, a non-voting youth member.
we have 7 voting commissioners. We have, 11 candidates. If we can discuss internally on mic to boil it down to say our top 3, and then we can just do a raise of the hand and see who gets the most votes of that. Or does city staff have any suggestions?
Well, you do have to do we'll have to do a roll call vote for that. If someone someone can make a nomination. If they have someone that they're very passionate about, they can make a nomination. And if there's a second, then there may not need to be further, I'm just saying that if someone's ready to make a motion, they could do so. Otherwise, in the past, as I said, you've gone through and each person's given their top 2 or 3 candidates. And if there was a clear quorum, or if there was a quorum of clear winner, then that would give you some idea. It's a kind of a weird process.
I'm just worried that if someone makes a nomination and that is given a second, that we've just selected the treasure artist before a second nominee.
Well, it would have to have a quorum of the commission.
Okay,
And
so
if
it's
that
not-
were the case, then that would be your treasure
Okay,
artist.
so we need the quorum, not just a second. Okay, clear, thank you. Connie?
So the way we did it with the students, I thought worked pretty well, where we had 2 or 3, and we all gave our 2 or 3, and then that helped us to narrow it down a lot. It feels a little bit more like it just brings it brings clarity, I think, to what we're thinking as a team.
Yes, Deb?
May I just start by giving my top 2 and we can go through? I would say Victor Ferrer and Brigitte McReynolds would be my 2.
My top 2 are Victor Ferrer and Robbie Pengelly.
My top 2 are John Arntz and Robbie Pengali.
I'm not ready yet.
We'll come back to Connie. Scott?
I actually have 3, but I would say my top 3 are John Arntz, Victor Ferrer, and Janice King, in that order.
Lauren?
My top 2 is Victor Ferrer and Bob Taylor.
I have Victor Ferrer and Robbie Pengelly as my second.
And we're coming back to Connie.
John Arntz and Robbie.
So if you have 5 members that have Victor in their top 2. And 1, 2, 3, 4, that was their number 1 if everyone said them in the order, just as a thought.
Who was the runner-up?
Robbie?
If you don't mind, can I make a motion to nominate Victor Ferrer as the 2024 Treasure Artist?
Second.
Third?
Then you can have
You can have
Then you can
discussion
have
on the motion.
Yeah, let's have a discussion. So we have boiled it down to 2 members. And with 7 voting commissioners, we can, come to a consensus. We have a motion on the floor to nominate Victor. Does anyone have any other comments, maybe to talk more about the other nominees that are being considered? Yes, Connie?
I am torn, obviously. Victor would be my 3rd. He's young. I feel like, he has, he's dynamo. He's doing amazing things. Now we're talking about legacy, though, too. There's that rubric category here. And while he's created quite a legacy for a young man, I expect we're going to see this nomination again, if not take it this year. So I struggle with someone like Robbie, who has a legacy of 35 years of work. It's like a 180 degrees where you have fresh, you have exciting, and she's fresh and exciting herself. I'm not saying she isn't, but it's a body of an enormous body of work, and a vital force coming out. So they're very different in the approach, and I find myself conflicted.
What we can, I mean, of the people that voted for Victor, and another other than Robbie, would you consider changing your vote? Maybe.
At this point, Chair Hagstrom, you do have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
And a second, unless someone wants to withdraw their second or the motion after discussion on the.
Mm-hmm.
And just on further discussion, it seemed like we were discussing all of the candidates. I felt the most passion from everyone when you were speaking about Victor. So, sometimes timing may not be right, but it just seemed that there was much joy, and through the nominations as well, this was his time. And, I think the commission would do very well in supporting that nomination. But like I said earlier, we have a really tough choice, and that's great that we have these tough choices.
If, sorry, Connie.
I think whoever we pick is going to be stellar, and I'm proud of what we're discussing tonight. I think we've done a really good job as a commission, and I think we really care a lot. And any of these candidates is so deserving. So, this tough choice is hard, but it's kind of a no-brainer. They're, the people that are coming forth at the very top are terrific.
Okay. Well, since we are not recalling a nomination or a second, it sounds, we would then put this to vote. And so we'll ask city staff to conduct a vote on selecting Victor Ferrer, the 2024 Treasure Artist. And I'll turn it over to Rebecca.
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kershner,
Yes.
Commissioner Momsen,
Yes.
Commissioner Schlelein,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Wagner,
Yeah.
Commissioner Knudsen,
Yes.
Chair Hagstrom.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 7-0-1.
Yay. All right. Good job.
That was not easy.
So, Chair Hagstrom, now we're not actually done with that item yet.
Okay.
Now that you've selected your treasure artist, a couple of things in the past, you as a commission have either decided, had someone that knew that person or that was familiar that to let them know. We've also, as a commission, if someone had the contact information, called from here. Well, it wasn't from here, it was from the other space. So that's one thing that you still need to kind of figure out is how you want to nominate or notify the person if they're not watching. And then the other piece, if you want to start with that, we can, I don't know if anyone has contact information, we can take a quick break or.
Okay. Mario, do you have a quick question?
Yeah, it's actually about the contact information. It says on the thing where it's on the nomination. Thank you. On the nomination, the person that nominated, their email and their phone number, and the artist's email and phone number as well.
Okay.
Does anyone on the commission have any personal relationship with Victor?
I'm supposed to have coffee with him soon. But, he and I have been arranging it, but
Okay.
I know him, but.
Well,
He leads groups at El Verano. It's like I don't know him, but he's around my school site.
maybe a different question would be, does Victor Farrar know any members on this commission? And it sounds like maybe Connie is in his consciousness. So Connie, would you feel comfortable reaching out and notifying Victor Farrar that he is the 2024 Treasure Artist recipient? Okay.
And just not an email.
Not an email.
Does anyone have any comments about, yes, Deb?
And I believe once you contact them, you also discuss potential dates with the for the award celebration.
Right, and those dates will be up to not only us and the venue, but his schedule as well.
And as soon as you do that, if you can let me know and I can let the commission know. Before we move on, the last piece of that is discussing the reception. One piece of that is if the commission would like to appoint an ad hoc committee to do the basic logistics, as we did last year, work with staff, and then all the commissioners would be brought in, obviously, at the event. That's a thought for the commission.
Yeah. Just my thoughts on a venue, having watched him set up at the community center plaza back patio, he travels with a sound system. They can dance on cement. So we really don't need too much in the way of a venue infrastructure. So we could select a multitude, and then he may also have a venue.
What would be our timeline, ideal month?
It really varies based on the artist. In the past, we've tried to keep it early February. But again, that's shifted quite a lot. When COVID happened, it was, I think, in June. It really depends on the artist.
Okay. I'll find out.
And the one thing too about venue, just a thought, is January, February, we could get into rain, so an outdoor space might not be quite what you
Right.
want to commit to. Just a thought.
I think
Yes,
La
Laura?
Luz might be a good venue too. I know they work out there a lot and have support there.
Right. And so, yeah, it's very likely that Victor would have a recommendation or maybe ties, like we've used, Jamie Love in the past, or, Betty Ann had ties to the women's club. So that's the discussion Connie can have, root it out.
He tends to bring a lot of people in.
Yeah.
It's gonna need to be a big space.
Stone Hall at Vintage House is always a very nice, large space. The Vintage House, Stone Hall,
yeah.
where Betty, yeah.
And then if the commission wanted to appoint a ad hoc of 3 members.
So that is the next step. So typically, an ad hoc committee would be 2 or 3 members of the commission that would work with the city staff and the treasure artist and determine things like venue, date, and then also, food and drink and master of ceremonies. So are there any commissioners that would like to volunteer to be on that ad hoc committee? Okay, so we have Morgan, Lauren, and Deb. Okay. So with that in mind, do we want to,
It needs to have a motion.
we have to have a motion. So can I make a motion to appoint Morgan, Lauren, and Deb as members of the ad hoc committee for Victor Farrar?
I so move.
Okay.
That-
Have to second it.
Second.
Thank you.
The chair can make a motion? I didn't know that. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we have an ad hoc committee.
Do you want to do a roll call vote?
We want to do a roll call vote on that ad hoc committee. Thank you.
Consent. We'll just- You don't have to take a vote unless there's an objection. Oh.
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kershner,
Yes.
Commissioner Momsen,
Yes.
Commissioner Schlelein,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Knudsen,
Yes.
Chair Hagstrom.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 701.
Okay. So that concludes Agenda 2.2, discussion of an ad hoc committee to review the City of Sonoma That concludes Agenda 2.1. So the next on the agenda is discussion of an ad hoc committee to review the City of Sonoma's public art policy. Does city staff have anything prepared to discuss the city
Yes.
public art policy?
Before you, on the dais, and it was made available to the public, we did put a copy of the current public art policy and procedures. It is, as you can tell, it was adopted in 2009. It is fairly outdated. A few years ago, the council, right before COVID, the council had actually charged the commission with reviewing and updating the policy, including the temporary art that we were doing at the time on the plaza and different areas in the community center had pieces, Depot Park. And so this is a 23-page policy. So to bring it to the commission as a whole, it might be a little bit difficult for the commission and for staff to gather all the comments. So staff's requesting an ad hoc commission or an ad hoc committee of the commission, no more than 3 members, to work with staff to update the policy. And then they would bring that back to the commission as a whole for consideration, if that's agreeable to the commission.
And what's the timeline for that update?
I think it's self-imposed at this point, but it is of great interest, I think, of the city in general, and other bodies that it's looked at. So I think probably it would be at the pleasure of the ad hoc a little bit, but I don't know if you had any additional timeline information.
No, I don't. We don't have concrete timelines. One thing to think about is the funding mechanism for public art is part of this policy, and it's an interesting piece because the funding is part of let's see how they word it. It's a very weird calculation. It's 1% of the general fund up to $25,000, and then a portion of city construction projects with the total building permit valuation cost in excess of $250,000. So it's 0.25% of the annual general fund. This has been waived. It can be waived by the council, and if it is financial, if there's financial issues. It has been waived from 2012 until this year. This year it was funded. They did not waive it. The $25,000 contribution has been made, it's been moved to the Public Art Fund. It's something. That being said, there was one other project that was funded in, I think it was 2011, which was the library project when we built the library, and they moved $17,600 over to the Public Art Fund. we are, right now, we're just trying to verify that the money, what the money's there, that it wasn't used. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of turnover since 2011 when it was done. That's one thing that you might, the commission might want to move forward a little faster on the, with the ad hoc committee. But that's one piece that I know several commissioners are interested in that piece and how that's programmed. If it is the commission that programs it, or if it's the council, if it's recommendations. So that's that's one thing that I know it might be of more impetus to move forward.
Okay, but there is not a deadline of, review this policy and put a new copy on my desk in 30 days.
3 days.
3, oh. Okay. So we'll open, is there any comments from the commission on the public art policy? Yes, Connie.
This is very exciting and a long time coming, and I'm thrilled that we're to this place and we have a council that and a city manager that are supporting the arts. So this is a step in the right direction, and I think we can count on this commission being very proactive at getting this done.
So next, yes, Deb?
I would just encourage the commission, whoever serves on this ad hoc, to, take it seriously, to understand what we've been tasked with, to make good use of the funds, so that it can, help the council and the endeavors that we have, to really make an impact for this community.
Any other comments? I just have a question about the fund. What was the project that initiated the 25,000? Was it a bridge or?
It wasn't a project. That is the other piece of the funding mechanism. It says that, let's find it. I was going to try and summarize it, but it's actually a little bit, it's not the easiest to understand. Now I've got to find it. There's a piece that, there's an annual appropriation equal to 0.25% of annual general fund expenditures, which is capped at $25,000. So it's actually at 0.25% of the general fund expenditures, or up to $25,000. And that's what prompted the $25,000 payment.
Okay, so it's not tied directly to a
It's not
project,
tied to a
like a
project.
hotel or a bridge or something
No.
to that effect. Okay, thank you. Yes, Connie?
And I think that the really important point here is to create a plan. I think this is going to take quite a bit of work, because really the ad hoc committee needs to look at comparables in other communities and to craft something sustainable. And the money is one thing, and the money is very important, obviously, and how we move forward is, but also just a visionary statement that is also pragmatic, the combination of visionary and pragmatic. And so I think the people on whoever does this is, as Deb said, this is some serious work that we're going to have to do.
I had a question that this expenditure would go towards creating and placing public art in a permanent or temporary capacity?
There's not really you've got a document, you've got an ordinance in place that has a policy. It's updating this policy, changing this policy in the ordinance if needed, and looking at the different pieces. The purpose of it is that it's, artwork. If art enhances, it's subjective. Depending on who you're talking to, their answer probably would be different in what your endeavor is. But at this point, what the commission's been charged with is updating, amending the policy that we have.
And I
Yes,
think
Meredith?
right now, the ordinance, it's a little broad on is it temporary or permanent, and that's one of the struggles, but, if the funds were to be used right now, it could be used for permanent art. It's like, so there are guidelines already, but it's really diving in and with those keywords.
And adding the temporary art piece was actually one of the direct charges, because we had started doing it with the museum. I think we had three different exhibits that we really were kind of like flying by the seat of our pants, putting those in place. There's a lot to it. With the ad hoc, we'll have to look at, because we don't have a lot of, there's like, oh, there's a big plaza, but not every spot in the plaza can hold artwork because of the infrastructure. There's a lot of pieces like that that are going to go into this as well.
Got it.
And I'd mentioned that Sonoma County has created a public art master plan and is working on that, and this would piggyback into that, and may not be just simply a city plan, but could possibly be a valley plan in terms of gateway ideas. Many communities do a lot of gateway improvements when you're entering a city, so there's but it's important to know that the main point was the county is doing something, so we need to be aware of what they've done and what the direction they're headed to, because they've included us in that.
I have a question. Are there other cohorts that will impact the decision, such as city council or the museum?
Anything that this body does is a recommendation to the city council.
Okay.
This body does not make they can't place ordinances, so it's definitely advisory.
Okay.
But they're looking for you to do, you're the experts on this, so they're looking to you to do that.
Okay, good. Any other questions about the public art policy and the the ad hoc committee of no more than 3 people? So then we'll put it up to a show of hands who would like to participate in the ad hoc committee. So we have 1, 2, 3. Well, we get the first 3 hands. So we have Meredith, we have Lauren, and we have Connie. Okay, let me jot that down.
I move that we accept those 3 nominees as the ad hoc committee. Meredith, Lauren, and Connie.
I'll second.
Okay. So we have completed the ad hoc committee portion
Roll
of
call.
the agenda.
We need to-
Ad hoc committee.
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kershner,
Yes.
Commissioner Momsen,
Yes.
Commissioner Schlelein,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Knudsen,
Yes.
Chair Hagstrom.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 701.
Okay. Okay, is this a time where the commission would like to take a break? Or shall we move on to item 2.3?
That's up to the commission. You just have the one more item. But
Okay.
one thing that we move forward with that, and we didn't ask for public comment.
Oh.
So if we could go
Okay.
and revisit just public comment.
Okay. So is there a public comment on the discussion and the nomination of an ad hoc committee to review the City of Sonoma public art policy? No. Is there a comment from online?
No, thank you, Chair Hagstrom.
Okay. Is there a need to take a break? Okay. And we'll move right along to item 2.3, discussion of the 2024 meeting calendar and to review and set dates for future meetings.
So before you, we have placed the draft calendar of meetings that are in this room, city meetings that take place or other agencies. You can see the room's used quite a lot. In the past, this commission has said that they liked, I believe it was the second, let's see, quarterly second Tuesday or second Thursday or third Wednesday. Those were the dates that were identified through at the last time we discussed dates. With that, both of those are actually available on the city's calendar. And again, you guys don't have to go on those dates. That was just the ones that were identified before. Mondays are very, very open, if anybody's interested in Mondays. So with that, we're just looking for quarterly dates for the commission. And that is with the understanding that if a special meeting's needed, it can be done at any time.
And to repeat those, was the second Tuesday and third Wednesday?
Second Thursday
Oh.
and second Thursday, third Tuesday.
Thanks, I knew I wrote that down wrong. Okay. Yes, Deb?
I know when we discussed this before, we were getting into the summer time, and so Tuesdays weren't great because of the Sonoma market. But given that we're only meeting quarterly, Tuesdays are definitely much better for me, or Mondays. Wednesdays and Thursdays are quite difficult. So I don't know if that impacts anyone else, but maybe the one summer we could move it to a different day, but the Tuesdays work great.
Does anyone else have any conflicts on either the second Thursday or third Tuesday?
I'm good on third Tuesdays, if that works for Deb.
And does city staff have a recommendation? No?
It really is up to the commission and what your schedule is. I believe we looked at our dates on those. I think we were open. There may be one that comes up that, if a meeting gets scheduled with the city council, that type of situation, that we may have to look at that. But it's really a good thing to get it on the calendar now. As you can see, this calendar fills up very quickly, and this doesn't include any special meetings of any of those bodies.
Yes, Connie?
Is it possible to meet at 5 instead of 6?
I would have a problem with that. I could probably be here around 5:15, 5:30. 5:30?
All commissions, well, we've really tried to get all commissions for the regular meetings at 6 o'clock for
Okay.
consistency.
Okay.
When does the Tuesday market start? Is that in June?
May.
It's in May.
Wow.
So,
And it goes through September?
And I don't think we have to do only Tuesdays. Like if we wanted to do a Tuesday in January, a Tuesday in April, we could do our summer meeting on
Yeah.
a different date.
Okay.
And it looks like we would
That
only
work.
be conflicting with maybe one Tuesday night market date. So I know I'd like to go to the Tuesday night market. I wouldn't want to miss, if I was doing this every week, but once a quarter, I can handle that.
and you could, as Commissioner Emerson said, you could change that day to a different day so it's not on the Tuesday marker and doesn't conflict. I would suggest that you start your meetings in January, because you'll need a meeting prior to the reception for the treasure artist,
So that would be the 16th?
if you went with the third Tuesday. It would look like it would be the January the 16th, April the 16th. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
tax
July
day.
the 16th date.
And typically we try and go dark in July, but I don't know that that's going to be the case, so we might want to schedule a different as a preemptive. I don't know quite what the council's gonna do yet, if they're gonna go dark in July or not.
Well, and we may want to have a meeting before 4th of July because of our participation in the parade.
So do you wanna do January 16th, April 16th, June 18th?
Except that's a farmer's market.
How about the 17th, the Monday?
Yeah, you could do the 17th,
Yeah.
June 17th.
Yeah.
I would prefer maybe the Thursday, the 20th.
Thursday, the 20th has a planning commission. The third
Oh,
Wednesdays
how
are not
about the-
available.
June 13th.
The second Thursday would work. That's an open meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So June the 13th.
Would that work for
Okay.
you, Deb?
And then that would put you into September, October. So it would be,
And then we'll go back to September 10th then?
no, it would be September 17th.
Is
Oh.
that a farmer's market?
Or the 12th.
It
The
may
12th
be
or
a,
the 16th.
very well may be a,
Oh, I see.
17th.
Okay.
yeah, the 17th would be,
That'd be the last.
yeah, it is.
One of the last.
So how about the 12th or the 16th?
Yeah, 12th.
12.
September 12th works?
Okay.
And then that's 4, but I would suggest that you go ahead and schedule the November meeting for the treasure artist selection. So it would be November 19th.
Okay.
Okay,
Great to have those set.
Perfect.
great. Thank
Really
you.
nice.
And that's
Okay.
all we have.
Maybe your last one.
Probably the 16th or
So if we're completed, item 2.3, discussion of the meeting calendar, we've selected 5 dates. Shall I list them? January 16th, April 16th, June 13th, September 12th, and November 19th of 2024. This is at 6 p.m. here at Chambers. Do I need to make a motion? Okay, we like that. We've got them on the books. Please add them to your calendar. Okay, so any comments from the public? Any comments from Zoom? No? Okay. Moving on, Agenda 3, Commissioners' Report and Comments. So this is a time where the commissioners can just add anything that they'd like to discuss among the group. Does any of the commissioners have anything they would like to add? Yes, Connie?
I think we were supposed to do the ad hoc for the show, right? Wasn't that on the agenda? No.
No.
Okay, well, that would be my comment, that, that it's been suggested that during December, because December is such a busy month and having a reception and all that sort of thing, that possibly we do a dance recital in here instead. And the mayor suggested that the Conservatory of Dance do a very brief production. Is that not true?
Oh, we were just discussing, they are scheduled to do a presentation to council on, I believe, December 1st.
December
Or
1st.
pardon me, the first meeting in December, which is December 6th. Sorry,
Right.
apologies.
Right. In lieu of artwork being put up for just a month. And so that was suggested as something we could do instead. Mario, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you say it was in the chamber?
They're going to be performing, doing some sort of a presentation.
Yeah, they're going to be part of the presentations that evening, so they're just going to have a 5 to 10 minute time frame, like during the presentation part of the agenda. So it wasn't the full performance like you were describing, where it would be in lieu of for that particular presentation.
Understand. and the ad hoc committee hasn't had time to talk about it or meet, and so we were just kind of riffing on what was going to happen in December, and that was a suggestion. So I think, I don't know whether these will be left up.
They will be left up until you guys tell us to take them down.
Okay, so we probably need to meet and decide when they come down. It's also been suggested that we think about Black History Month and that there are a number of artists in town, African American, who might participate in an exhibition in January, doing a quarterly exhibition or 2 or 3 month exhibition. So we'd briefly touched base on that through emails, and we were going to move forward on that.
Yes, Deb?
I would just ask at the January meeting if we could agendize and discuss something that our previous council or commission had discussed, and that was the wrapping of the public, I don't know what it's called, utility boxes, and would like to see how how this commission feels about taking that on, and just discussing it further.
Okay.
I have a question about the student artist. Is there going to be a show for them?
Oh, the hospital.
The student, like, artist of the year, I forget the official name. Are we having
Creative student artists?
Yeah.
You typically choose them in March.
No,
For
the
the
one we
prior.
already chose, we never celebrated.
Yeah.
There's been, we didn't, well, the show is new. We did a show for last year's. There'd never been a show before for student artists. So we created that tradition. We thought we were going to connect with the hospital to see if that happened, but a lot of balls got dropped. And so I think they're still trying, and I'm in touch with the student artist. So they were going to do it over the summer. She wanted to do an outdoor show in their patio area, and they didn't connect yet. I mean, they didn't with all the other people that needed to. So it's a great question, and we need to circle back. It's on my list.
I would just comment, I was on the ad hoc committee for the Vintage Fair poster selection, and I thought the process went well. However, I didn't really see any posters out in the field, meaning in storefronts. And then the event sort of got rained out. But does the commission or city staff have any comments about how that was received by the Vintners and Growers Alliance and the public?
I can speak a little bit if there's no comments first from commissioners. Looked like there might have been one.
Mario?
I only saw one of the posters out of all my time, and that was at the Basque, the storefront there. One of the posters it was very small, very minute. It was probably just, a normal piece of paper size, maybe a bit smaller. But that's like the only time I ever saw one.
Okay,
I only saw it on, like, the city's Instagram.
yeah. And did anyone attend the event to see if they were selling the posters? Or?
I was at the event. I don't know if they were selling the new one. I think it was on display. They were definitely selling the older posters, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. Connie?
We had asked to have one, and I think that didn't happen either yet.
We'll have an updating staff comments for you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments from the commission? Any other comments? Then we'll jump to staff.
Just to fill in the discussion on the bringing back of the poster contest, which had gone fallow during COVID. And as you know, this was the first year, technically second year, that the Vintners and Growers took over the event. So they are still fairly new to the process, and then city in general has not been involved in the poster contest or the festival, other than providing the plaza and that sort of thing, has not been involved in that part. So that was a piece that was brought in by the commission to participate in that and provide a platform for people to submit their nominations. So that was our role in this particular. And then, of course, you did your first round and made recommendations to them. And once we handed it over, it turned it over to the Vintners and Growers Alliance. So it being a first-time partnership, I certainly have notes. I'm looking forward to next year having a little bit more time to be able to give them to consider, and then also to make sure that they have enough lead time to get the posters printed in advance so that the city can fully participate in helping them promote that. So I too saw it on their Instagram account, the announcement there. I know that they were so busy with changes of leadership and things, and their events are quite big, and they've been changing the format. So I did see it in a few spots, but I know that they were selling them, and they do have lots of copies, and we will have the original artwork for the open house tomorrow, and we are going to have posters as well. They won't be available for sale, but I'll have the information on how people can get a copy of that. So they were available, but you're right, it was, I think the time frame was condensed, and like any time, events are big, and there's a lot of moving parts, and this was one piece of, I think, their larger process, and so there's just a lot of opportunity to, I think, grow it, and our participation and support of them in this effort. So those are my comments.
And just as an FYI, there's been some thought by members of the council that they would like to keep the posters and get them framed, not keep them up, but at least keep them and have them stored so that the city does have a copy. We not sure quite what that's going to look like yet, but that is something we're looking into. As far as the artwork, as Sarah said, they did actually bring the original piece to us tonight, right before this meeting. So I'm hoping we're not going to be poking holes in that to put it on the wall. But if all else fails, she says she's going to bring us a poster tomorrow to use. If not, we can do something on a easel. We'll try and work something out that way. So, but the artwork will be here, the winner for this year. So.
And I think it's really cool that these are all together, and people are seeing value. Morgan had come up with this idea after the ad hoc committee had talked about it, and it's just something, they've been gathering dust, and to have a collection like this is historic and important, and I think the commission can be excited and proud of bringing this together, and for a collection that wouldn't have happened probably otherwise.
And just to remind everyone that the Vintage Festival poster show is tomorrow from 4 to 5:30 here.
And we do have a traffic safety committee meeting starting at 6 o'clock. So it will be a fairly hard stop at 5:30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and light appetizers?
Light appetizers and beverages, yes.
Okay. Any other city staff comments?
No, other than the only other thing that you guys might find of interest is that you'll be seeing a glass case coming into the lobby outside of council chambers in the next, I know it is in transit at this time. We have the sister cities. We get a lot of very interesting pieces, artwork, statuary from our different sister cities. They're in City Hall upstairs. The cabinet is quite full. So the Mayor Lowe had a great idea of bringing a case here. And so you'll be seeing that shortly. We already have a couple of pieces to put into that. So a little bit of artwork going out into the lobby as well. That's it. That's all the comments.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for a great meeting. Thanks for those that volunteered for the ad hoc committees. And with that, it is 7:47, adjourned.